On April 1, 2026, humanity took a giant leap forward once again. At 6:35 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the massive Space Launch System rocket thundered off Launch Complex 39B at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida, marking the start of Artemis II, the first crewed mission to journey beyond low Earth orbit in more than 50 years. This historic launch of the second flight of the powerful SLS vehicle and the first with astronauts aboard captivated millions around the world as the powerful rocket climbed into the afternoon sky, carrying for brave souls on a 10-day mission that will test the limits of modern space technology and human endurance. Commander Reid Wiseman, a veteran NASA astronaut with extensive flight experience, led the crew. Alongside him were pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Koch, and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen, the first non-U.S. citizen to ever fly beyond low Earth orbit. The diversity of this crew reflects a new era in space exploration, where people from across nations and backgrounds join in a common quest to push humanity further into space. The mission's launch was a spectacle of engineering and human determination. Tens of thousands of people gathered along Florida's Space Coast, filling beaches and causeways to watch the SLS rocket rise in a pillar of flame and smoke, reminiscent of the iconic Apollo moonshots of the 1960s and 1970s. Crowds cheered, cameras clicked, and the world collectively held its breath as the spacecraft Orion, perched atop the towering booster, separated from the launch tower and began its journey toward orbit. Once in Earth orbit, the initial hours were a whirlwind of activity. The crew performed a series of precision maneuvers, deploying solar arrays, configuring life support systems, and running through critical checks designed to validate the spacecraft's readiness for deep space. These operations were not routine, they were the first live test of the Orion capsule systems with humans on board, a milestone decades in the making. Inside the capsule, the astronauts adjusted to microgravity, floating through the cabin as they familiarized themselves with their new environment. A small white plush toy, carried as a zero-gravity indicator, became an instant symbol of human curiosity and creativity when it began to float freely once weightlessness was achieved. This simple moment, visible to controllers back on Earth, linked the mission to the hopes of children and dreamers around the globe. But the day was not without challenges. Early in the mission, a minor malfunction in the spacecraft's sanitation system required the crew's attention, a reminder that even the smallest systems matter greatly in deep space. Ground teams and the astronauts worked together to restore full function, demonstrating the resilience and teamwork that are essential on missions like this. During the first full day in orbit, the crew focused on mastering control of the Orion capsule. Pilot Victor Glover took manual control in one key test, feeling the subtle response of thrusters as Orion moved through space. These tests were crucial to ensure that the spacecraft can be guided precisely as it later approaches the Moon. After roughly 24 hours of Earth orbit operations, mission controllers prepared to execute a critical burn of the upper stage, the translunar injection maneuver that will send Orion on its path toward the Moon. This pivotal moment, when commanded and performed correctly, will break Orion free of Earth's gravitational hold and set it on the trajectory that will carry the crew around our nearest celestial neighbor. This mission will not land on the lunar surface, but will instead perform a flyby, looping around the Moon and then returning to Earth. The chosen trajectory will take the crew farther from Earth than any humans have been in decades, surpassing records set during the Apollo era and giving researchers an unprecedented opportunity to study conditions in deep space and gather data that will inform future missions. During the planned lunar flyby, Orion will swing behind the Moon, out of direct contact with Earth. From there, the crew will witness sights that no human has seen in generations: the far side of the Moon illuminated in strange light, its rugged terrain and cratered surface stretching away into silence. They will take photographs, conduct observations, and relay data back to Earth that will help planners choose landing sites for future Artemis missions, including bases near the lunar South Pole. At every moment, millions of people will be watching, tracking this voyage with a mix of scientific curiosity and emotional investment. Artemis is more than a test flight. It is a statement of intent, a demonstrating humanity's return to deep space and our commitment to learning, exploration, and cooperation. It lays the foundation for the eventual return of humans to the lunar surface by the late 2020s and sets the stage for preparations that may one day send astronauts to Mars and beyond. Yet experts also remind us that space exploration is inherently risky. From the heat shield that must endure the stresses of re-entry, to the challenges of space radiation and complex life support systems, Artemis underscores the reality that even small anomalies could have profound consequences. NASA's teams remain vigilant, applying decades of knowledge as they watch every system, every reading, and every heartbeat along this historic path. The mission is scheduled to conclude with Orion's return to Earth in early April, culminating in a dramatic splashdown in the Pacific Ocean, where a recovery team will retrieve the crew and spacecraft. In the days that follow, the data collected, the lessons learned, and the stories told by these four explorers will ripple through the scientific community, inspiring a new generation of space explorers and reaffirming the human spirit of discovery. As the daylight faded on April 1, 2026, and the powerful roar of the engines faded into the vast sky above Florida, the world watched as humans once again set sail for deep space. The Artemis mission, built to push the boundaries of human exploration, has now entered orbit following launch aboard NASA's Space Launch System rocket, the towering 322-foot behemoth designed to carry Orion and its crew into the next chapter of space history. On board the crew capsule, aptly named Integrity, were astronauts Commander Reid Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Koch, and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen, that began their first full day in space. This journey isn't just a flight, it's a test, a series of trials that will measure how well humans and machines can operate together beyond Earth's protective embrace for the first time in more than half a century. In the hours after reaching orbit, the crew executed a series of internal checkouts, deploying Orion solar rays to generate sunlight-powered electricity, running through communication systems, and monitoring life support functions that must remain flawless as they travel farther than humans have in decades. Ground teams at NASA's Mission Control have been working in continuous coordination with the crew, assessing live data feeds and helping troubleshoot any anomalies. Indeed, not all things have gone perfectly smoothly, and such is the nature of spaceflight. Early reports from onboard the spacecraft describe a minor issue with the sanitation system shortly after launch, a quirky reminder that the simplest technologies become complex in the void of space. The crew, ever professional, worked with ground controllers to resolve the glitch and restore full system function, all while adhering to the strict routines of orbit operations. Meanwhile, around the globe, reactions poured in as the mission took its place in history. World leaders and space experts alike celebrated the launch, recognizing that Artemis represents not only a technical achievement but a collaborative triumph. The presence of a Canadian astronaut, the first non-U.S. citizen ever to travel beyond low Earth orbit, underscored the international spirit of exploration that defines this decade in spaceflight. Behind this moment looms the great challenge still ahead: the critical translunar injection burn. Later today, mission planners will command Orion's service module to fire its engines, pushing the spacecraft out of Earth's orbit and onto a trajectory that will take it on a distant path around the Moon. This maneuver, executed precisely and without hesitation, will mark the moment when Artemis truly leaves Earth behind and heads into the realm of deep space once more. As the mission progresses through its multi-day transit toward lunar vicinity, Orion and its crew will travel farther from Earth than any humans have in over 50 years, breaking distance records set during the Apollo era. Beyond just testing hardware, this mission is about preparing people, astronauts, and Earthbound scientists, for the rigors of long-duration spaceflight. NASA's goal isn't simply to orbit the Moon, it's to learn how to operate in the harsh environment beyond our planet for missions that will one day extend to Mars and beyond. Alongside the astronauts, international partners have their own scientific interests riding on Artemis II. Among these is a small microsatellite from Argentina, known as Atenia, which will travel into deep space with Orion. This shoebox-sized device is designed to test advanced navigation technologies and study the radiation environment beyond Earth's magnetic shield, a data that will be crucial to future deep space explorers. Even the smallest symbols of this mission have captured the public's imagination. A white plush toy carried aboard Orion as a zero-gravity indicator became an unofficial mascot, floating freely once the spacecraft achieved weightlessness. The simplicity of this floating toy, and the joy it brought both the crew and those watching from Earth, serves as a poignant reminder of the human heart behind every technical achievement in space exploration. As Artemis continues its voyage, every milestone, from orbital maneuvers to systems checks to scientific observations, will be meticulously documented and broadcast back to an eager global audience. NASA's extensive coverage plan ensures that people everywhere can follow along, participate in this monumental moment, and feel the collective pride of a species that refuses to stay rooted to its home world. Over the coming days, the mission timeline includes the key lunar flyby, during which Orion will approach and loop around the Moon, using lunar gravity to set the spacecraft on its return course toward Earth. During this close pass, the crew will capture detailed imagery of the lunar surface and conduct observations that may help future Artemis missions identify optimal landing sites and refine scientific objectives. As the Earth falls farther behind them and the Moon draws nearer, the psychological and physiological challenges, from isolation to radiation exposure, will be closely monitored by researchers on the ground. The data collected from astronauts in deep space on Artemis will inform everything from spacesuit design to habitat planning, health monitoring, and life support engineering for decades to come. When Orion completes its loop around the Moon and heads home, the final test will come as the spacecraft re-enters Earth's atmosphere at tremendous speed. Orion's heat shield, developed and refined over years of preparation, must perform flawlessly to protect the crew from the blistering temperatures of re-entry. This test will be a defining moment for the future of crewed lunar exploration. In the end, the mission's conclusion to splashdown in the Pacific Ocean and recovery by U.S. Navy teams will not only mark the end of Artemis, but also the beginning of the next era of human spaceflight. With Artemis and Artemis II already planned to return astronauts to the lunar surface and ultimately establish a sustainable presence on the Moon, Artemis stands as the bridge between dreams of exploration and the reality of stepping back onto another world. As the sun set on April 1, 2026, the world witnessed history in motion once again as Artemis, NASA's first crewed lunar mission in over 5 decades, lifted off into the sky on a trajectory toward the Moon's vicinity. Millions tuned in across the globe on streaming platforms such as NASA Plus, Amazon Prime, and YouTube to follow the launch in real time, as the powerful Space Launch System rocket roared off Launch Complex 39B at Kennedy Space Center, Florida, carrying 4 astronauts into deep space, an achievement that marks the continuation of humanity's return to lunar exploration after the Apollo era. Once in orbit, the Artemis mission quickly began executing its flight plan. Ground teams and the onboard crew worked in close coordination to complete critical maneuvers, including a perigee raise burn that refined Orion's orbit around Earth, setting the stage for a future translunar injection burn that will send the spacecraft on a path to loop around the Moon and return home. Astronauts on board are Commander Reid Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Koch, and Canadian Space Agency astronaut Jeremy Hansen have been checking out systems, communicating with mission control, and preparing for the long voyage ahead. In the early hours following launch, Orion's environmental and life support systems were put to the test, including a minor but memorable hiccup with the spacecraft's sanitation system. Thanks to the professionalism of the crew and support from flight controllers in Houston, the Orion toilet was successfully restored to normal operation, underscoring the complexity and human reality of living and working in deep space. The launch and early mission activities received widespread global attention. News outlets reported that thousands of spectators gathered along Florida's Space Coast to witness the rocket's ascent, reminiscent of historical Apollo launches. While commentators noted the mission's importance as a pivotal step in NASA's broader Artemis campaign, one that aims to return humans to the Moon's surface and eventually establish a sustainable lunar presence. Artemis continues a proud legacy of human space exploration, showcasing not only American leadership, but also international collaboration. In addition to the American astronauts, the mission carries scientific and technological payloads from international partners. Among these, is a microsatellite from Argentina that will conduct navigation and deep space radiation measurements, a first of its kind for Latin American space science, and a demonstration of how global cooperation enriches the exploration of space. As Orion travels farther from Earth than any humans have in over 50 years, it will soon execute the critical translunar injection burn, propelling the spacecraft out of Earth's gravity well and toward a Moon flyby. During this phase, the crew will conduct further systems tests, monitor life support and thermal controls, and perform observations that will help scientists and engineers plan future Artemis missions, including the upcoming Artemis crewed lunar landing. Throughout the mission, public interest remains exceptionally high, with reaction and commentary rolling in from around the world. For many, Artemis isn't just a technical endeavor, it is a symbol of human determination, scientific progress, and the enduring aspiration to explore beyond the boundaries of our home planet. Each milestone, from solar array deployment to orbit maneuvers and deep space telemetry, is broadcast to millions, inspiring a next generation of scientists, engineers, and explorers who are watching every moment as it unfolds. As the spacecraft continues on its nearly 10-day loop around the moon and back, Orion and its crew will push farther into deep space than any human has traveled in decades. This mission is a bridge between the past and the future, connecting the legacy of Apollo to an era where lunar bases, long-duration exploration, and missions to Mars are becoming more than the stuff of dreams. And as Artemis's crew moves ever farther from Earth's blue horizon, the world waits with anticipation, watching history in the making. As Orion continues its outbound trajectory, the Artemis crew has begun familiarizing themselves with the routines and responsibilities that come with extended missions in deep space. Commander Reid Wiseman leads daily briefings on board, reviewing checklists and flight plans with pilot Victor Glover and mission specialists Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen. The crew practices contingency procedures, simulates communication delays with mission control, and rehearses operations that may be critical for future Artemis missions. Each drill is essential, ensuring that the team is ready for any unexpected challenge that could arise tens of thousands of miles from Earth. The mission's scientific component, while secondary to the primary objective of testing crewed operations beyond low Earth orbit, is no less significant. Artemis carries several experiments designed to monitor the effects of deep space radiation on both human physiology and onboard electronics. Sensors track cosmic rays, solar energetic particles, and micrometeoroid impacts, providing researchers on Earth with critical data that will influence the design of spacecraft, habitats, and protective gear for the astronauts of the future. The microsatellite Atenea, from Argentina, has also begun its preliminary checks, transmitting navigation and radiation data back to Earth in near real time. As the spacecraft approaches the moon for its historic flyby, the crew prepares for the most visually spectacular segment of the mission. Orion will pass over the lunar far side, where radio communication with Earth will briefly be lost. During this blackout, the astronauts will rely on autonomous systems to maintain orientation and monitor spacecraft health. The far side of the moon, long unseen by human eyes, presents a landscape of deep craters, towering mountains, and shadowed valleys. The crew will capture high-resolution images and telemetry data, which scientists will analyze to select landing sites for future Artemis missions, and to study geological processes that shaped the moon billions of years ago. Psychological well-being is a key concern for deep space missions, and NASA has incorporated daily routines to help maintain mental health. Crew members share meals, communicate with family via delayed video messages, and even play simple games to relieve stress and foster teamwork. A floating plush toy, initially a zero-gravity indicator, has become a symbolic mascot, appearing in videos and photos sent back to Earth, a reminder of humanity's enduring creativity and humor even in the harshest environments. The upcoming lunar flyby will test Orion's guidance, navigation, and control systems to the fullest. The spacecraft must execute precise maneuvers using small thrusters to adjust its trajectory for the return journey to Earth. Any deviation, even minor, could require additional corrections. These operations are critical not only for Artemis's success but also for validating procedures for future lunar missions, including Artemis, which aims to land astronauts on the moon's south polar region and establish a sustainable presence. As the spacecraft swings around the moon and begins its return trajectory, the crew will experience one of the most profound aspects of the mission: the view of Earth from deep space. At over 200,000 miles away, the planet appears as a fragile blue orb, suspended in the darkness of space. Astronauts often report feelings of awe and humility during this segment, known as the overview effect. An experience that has inspired previous generations of space travelers, and that will be shared live with millions of viewers on Earth. Beyond the immediate objectives, Artemis is also about preparing humanity for sustained exploration. Lessons learned in life support, radiation shielding, autonomous operations, and psychological resilience will directly inform the design of lunar habitats, Mars-bound spacecraft, and the infrastructure necessary for long-duration interplanetary travel. Artemis is, in essence, both a demonstration mission and a giant leap forward in engineering, human factors, and international collaboration. Even as Orion moves farther from Earth, public engagement remains a priority. NASA continues to stream live data, video feeds, and crew commentary, allowing the global audience to follow the mission in near real time. Schools, universities, and amateur astronomers are tracking Orion's progress, conducting their own analyses and discussing the implications of deep space exploration for science, technology, and society at large. Artemis has already inspired countless new conversations about humanity's place in the cosmos and the possibilities that lie beyond our home planet. The mission will culminate with Orion's re-entry into Earth's atmosphere, a complex operation involving high-speed atmospheric braking, precise heat shield performance, and accurate parachute deployment for a safe splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Recovery teams, coordinated by the U.S. Navy, will be ready to retrieve both the crew and the spacecraft, marking the conclusion of this historic journey and the beginning of a new era in lunar exploration. Every system, every experiment, and every observation collected on this mission will provide critical knowledge for future Artemis missions and for humanity's expansion into the solar system.